The next thing I need to do is create a graph of this function. So the easiest way, I think, is to go insert. This kind of graph we always want, or in fact in most graphs, we always want a scatter plot. We don't want these connecting lines. We just want plain old scatter plot. So I select that. Now if I right click the graph and go select the data, I need to add a series. And now it says, what do you want to call it? I'm going to call it investment versus time, because that seems fair. Now here it says, what do you want your x values to be? Your x-axis. In this case, it's going to be time. It's nearly always time when I've got a time value. And then my y values are going to be how much money I have. So I just delete that last little bit and drag over these. And I've got a pretty sweet looking graph. So now I can go, yep, okay, okay. I'll make this a bit bigger. Now I want to add those trend lines. So if I click this little box, this is where I can do all my axis titles, data labels, etc., etc. But if I go down to trend line and go more options, this is where I can see my equation and R squared value. So these are quite useful. The R squared value in particular is really, really important. It tells you how well the line fits. So in this case, I've got a 0.9934. That is very good. But if I try the exponential graph, I get an R squared value of 1, which is the best. That means this line, this trend line that I'm creating, fits the data perfectly. Every single point is exactly on that line. So you can't do any better. So this is clearly telling me that this creates an exponential function. This is really interesting. So compound interest creates exponential curves. We're going to look at exponentials later on when we look at functions. We'll look at exponential and quadratic equations. You have already seen them to a degree in that indices are creating exponentials. Exponents, indices, the same thing. Anytime you create a function that is squaring or doing something to a power, as we saw when we calculated these manually, we create an exponential curve. So that's how you create the graph.